This is 17 News with continuing coronavirus coverage.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Gitsky. Well, Governor Gavin Newsom is streaming live every day at noon to give an update on the coronavirus crisis in our state. Today, he's talking about the state's response to COVID-19 during this outbreak, and we will take you to that as soon as he becomes available. In the meantime, let's go to the latest cases here in Kern County. There are 4 new cases that have been reported since last night, bringing that total to 271 cases. We now have Governor Gavin Newsom. Let's take it over to him and hear what he has to say.
A few hours, the last number of days, but none more important to me than to express appreciation to our National Guard, the men and women of the National Guard that took 2 C-130 planes, flew them to Illinois, one into New Jersey, New York area to provide 100 ventilators for the needs of the state of Illinois. Those in New Jersey, another 100 in the state of New York. Those same men and women, different group within the National Guard ranks now are deploying additional ventilators in Delaware and D.C., in Maryland, and driving, as we speak, driving into Nevada, 50 ventilators for each of those states. I just want to thank them in particular because the National Guard have provided not only the kind of humanitarian support that's demonstrable in that example, but also continue to do heroic work at our food banks all throughout the state of California. And in addition to that, we've got 100 of them that just went out on the lines to prepare for this this summer's fire season that is close upon us. They're doing vegetation management, forest management, and so I cannot express enough my gratitude, my respect, my appreciation to our National Guard. I also wanted to update all of you on a significant effort that we have advanced on PPE. So much attention, not just on N95 masks, on coveralls and gowns, on shields, on surgical masks, gloves, and the like. We have been doing our part over the course of the last number of weeks to punch above our weight. We've been able to secure over 41.5 million N95 masks and distribute them throughout the state of California. While we've had a little support from the national stockpile, we haven't relied on that. A little over 1 million N95 masks have come from the strategic national stockpile. 41.5 million have been distributed throughout the state. And it's a way of emphasizing that all of us are working, in some cases collaboratively, in other cases across our respective jurisdictions and sometimes against each other in the open market to compete, to procure through a supply chain that is global, more PPE. In some cases, we've been actually competing against the federal government. You've seen price gouging. You've seen a lot of mishegas. I made this point the other day about one of our deliveries on the border into Texas, and a lot of the masks were moldy and had to be shipped back. And so in an effort not to play small ball, in an effort to really organize to meet the audacious goal that we had of over 500 million PPE that we announced a few weeks back based upon our modeling, we decided to retool our efforts, refocus on our vendors, refocus on our supply chains. And we're very pleased that we're able to formally submit to the legislature yesterday a request to utilize money from our disaster response emergency operations account that would allow us to invest over $1.4 billion into PPE of all stripes and do so in a way that can secure the anxiety that many of us have, not just the healthcare workers in the state of California within the hospital systems, in our community clinics, in our skilled nursing facilities, adult daycare centers, but also our grocery workers, our DMV workers, the frontline employees walking the streets, doing outreach to the homeless, people knocking on your doors to do wellness checks, to basically provide for the amount of personal protective gear that is needed in totality. And so as a consequence, we made a big, bold bet on a new strategy, and it is bearing fruit. I'm going to ask the director of the Office of Mercy Service to walk through a little bit more of the details and how we're going about this, what our supply chains look like, the consortia of nonprofits that are part of this, a private company here in the state of California that really stepped up with strong relationships in China to help us with those direct supply chains. It's a logistics operation that is quite extraordinary in its magnitude in terms of the number of flights that have to come into the United States, the partnerships that have been formed, not just with nonprofits, but organizations like the Asia Society that have been helpful, other private sector partners, both here in the United States, but substantively overseas, and of course FEMA and their incredible work that they've done in collaboration with the state of California to get these contracts procured and to get the commitments of roughly 200 million masks alone. And I specifically point to the masks, the PPE. It's broader than that, but the masks, of course, being so topical, roughly 150 million N95s on a monthly basis and 50 million surgical masks on a monthly basis that we believe with these contracts, multiple contracts and multiple sources, we'll be able to bring into the state of California and procure and begin to distribute at a scale that we haven't been able to date. So with that, I want to ask the director of the Office of Emergency Service to come up. He'll fill in the blanks on some of the details of that strategy. I just want to note I have deep respect and gratitude to our partners as well in the legislature. We submitted a $495 million formal request for the first tranche of payments on the over $1.4 billion of procurement for these efforts. That is not an insignificant amount of money, but we're dealing at a time where we need to go boldly and we need to meet this moment without playing small ball any longer. And we need to coordinate and organize our nation-state status as we can only in California with our procurement capacity that quite literally is second only to the United States itself. California is in a position not only to leverage those supply chains, leverage our investment, but do so in a way that protects the taxpayers as well.
That was Governor Gavin Newsom talking about the response to the crisis here in the state of California for the coronavirus. Now, he did talk about ventilator support, food bank support. He's also talking about how PPE is essential and they need masks, gowns, gloves. That is also the necessary equipment that helps protect those medical professionals. Now they've already gotten 41.5 million N95 masks. They are utilizing the money that they have gotten from the disaster fund to help with $1.4 billion for that PP&E service. And if you want to continue watching Governor Gavin Newsom, you can go on to our live stream, which is on our Facebook page. Well, here's a look at the latest numbers of COVID-19 cases here in Kern County. 4 new cases have been reported since last night, bringing up the total to 271 cases. More than 3,100 people have tested negative, but around 1,900 test results are still pending. 2 people have died. Officials have released where the patients live, but it's not necessarily where they caught the virus. There are 43 cases in the Valley, 112 in West Bakersfield, 96 in East Bakersfield, 8 in the mountain areas, and 6 in the desert areas. And here's how the numbers break down by age. 10 are children 17 and under, 135 of those are between the ages of 18 and 49, 82 are between the ages of 50 to 64, and 38 are 65 and older. Well, 17's News has learned that 5 detention deputies at Lerdo Jail have tested positive for COVID-19. That's according to an official with the Kern County Detention Officers Association. Union President Dustin Alkire says the deputies are recovering at home. Sheriff Donnie Youngblood said a total of 10 Sheriff's Office employees have tested positive for the virus. He also said 2 inmates at the jail have tested positive. They're isolated and are receiving treatment. Sheriff Youngblood says says tests are pending, so it's likely that number of cases could go up. Meantime, state prison officials say a fourth employee at Wasco State Prison has tested positive for COVID-19. That makes 5 employees of prisons in Kern to test positive, according to the Department of Corrections Rehabilitation. The other employee works at North Kern State Prison in Delano, where 1 inmate has also tested positive for coronavirus. Statewide, there are 62 prison employees infected and 18 inmates. Well, the virus-plagued Grand Princess cruise ship re-entered the San Francisco Bay yesterday on a supply mission. The ship was greeted by maritime union officials and local community groups protesting the treatment of its Filipino crew members and the safety of dock workers during the current coronavirus outbreak. The protesters want the ship to decommission until it's completely disinfected. They're also calling for more testing and monitoring of the ship's crew. For more than a month, the virus-infected ship has been sailing in and out of the Bay Area. The Princess Cruises says most of the crew completed a 2-week quarantine on Saturday. 21 people, including 19 crew members and 2 guests, originally tested positive for COVID-19. It has since been cleared by the CDC, who says it no longer poses a threat to the public. Well, stay with us. We'll be right back. We have seen rain, and more rain. Well, how long will that wet weather stick around? Let's send it over to Kevin Charette, who can tell us more. Kevin.
Well, Nicole, it's all about the numbers. We have a lot of numbers that we can go through because of the amount of rain that we have received. Yesterday's record, 0.91. Now, our wettest April on record was set back in 1915 when we picked up 2.99 inches, so just shy of 3 inches. Now, let's go to the weather computer, show you some other numbers. And when we take a look at the 5 wettest Aprils on record, guess what? We can now say that we surpassed all these years, 2019, 18, 17, 16, and 15, because we sit at 1.72 inches of rain in the gauge right now. So great to see, and it's raining out there now. We're going to add to these totals as we go throughout the day. Here's a look at our overall rain for the month of April. Again, 1.72. Now, up to this point, we should be about 1,700 of an inch, so we're looking good. We're over 1.5 inches above that. And then we take a look at October 1st, which is the water year, 6.13 inches in the gauge, and we're up 0.3. So we were down. In fact, we were in a deficit for the water year. Now we've got a surplus, which is great to see. Arvin right now, 51 degrees. We've got the rain showers out that way. Wasco, 52, and raining out your way. And then up near Frazier Park, it's been kind of a mixed day. You're right on that snow-rain line. So we do have a little bit of snow there, but we also have a mix of rain with that, 32 degrees. So you're right on that edge. And then Golden Hills out of the Tehachapi area, mix of rain and snow. We're even getting reports of some wet snow up into the Kern River Valley. So it's definitely a mixed bag in terms of the weather. Bakersfield sits at 50 degrees right now. And at last check, 0.21 inches so far today in the rain gauge. As we take a look at other temperatures, 40s and 50s as we head into the noon hour here. Into the mountains, 30s for Frazier Park, Tehachapi, and also Lake Isabel at 36. So again, we're right on that temperature edge. And we take a look at the satellite and radar, and the rain has started to lit up here in the valley a little bit, but still heavy showers are possible throughout the day, and you can see out near the Frazier Park area a few snow showers, and then Tehachapi and up into the Kern River Valley. Again, you're right on that snow line, snow level hovering right around 5,000 feet. So let's take a look at the watches and warnings right now. And you can see Bakersfield is in one of those, and that means we do have a flood advisory in place until 2 o'clock this afternoon because of some of the heavier showers we're seeing. We have the winter storm warning into the Kern County mountains through 5 a.m. Thursday now. We were going to expire that at 11 o'clock tonight, and those include all of our mountain communities, again, right on the edge. But again, I think the heaviest of the snow will be above the 5,000 foot range, and we have a flash flood watch into the desert until 11 o'clock tonight. So a lot we'll be watching throughout the evening. It's all because that low, you see the circulation down to the Channel Islands there, and this is just going to continue to move east the next couple of days. As it does that, it continues to wrap that moisture into our area. Now, temperatures today into the 50s and 60s all around the state. Now, once this system exits by Friday. We'll get a little bit of ridging in behind it, and so as we head into the weekend, we'll dry out, and you can see that on our Futurecast model here. This is Thursday, and then as we head into Friday, things start to clear out by late, and the weekend is looking good. Easter Sunday, great. So here's a look at the overall forecast. The headlines now 8 to 17 inches of snow is still possible above 5,000 feet, and up near Alta Sierra, some of the elevations could pick up 2 feet of snow before this is done. And I think today through Friday, we're looking between 1/4 and 1/2 an inch for the valley, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch into the mountains, and 1/4 to 1/2 out in the desert. So temperatures today, let's take a look at them. 58 in Bakersfield, 60 in Delano, 57 in Taft for the mountains. We're looking at a cool day, 36 in Frazier Park, 44 in Tehachapi, and right near 50 into the Kern River Valley. And then for the desert, showers here and 50 in Mojave. And your extended forecast, look at Easter Sunday, 75 degrees, so a good warm-up on the way. And then for the mountains, we'll start to see more sunshine for the weekend, 62 for your Easter, and into the Kern River Valley. Also a nice weekend, and Easter Sunday in the Kern River Valley, Nicole, right near 68. So it's definitely been a busy few days, and we'll continue to see the rain as we go throughout today. We'll send it back over to you.
Thanks, Kevin. You know, I've enjoyed the rain, but I am looking forward to the warm weekend ahead. Well, air travel is drastically down. Instead of seeing millions of travelers, only thousands during this time going through airports. That story when we return.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
In your 17 Business Watch, air travel has dropped off dramatically in the last several weeks since the start of the coronavirus crisis. According to the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, the number of passengers going through security year over year was roughly the same at the beginning of March. But in the second half of the month, the number of passengers passing through security dropped by nearly 50% from 2.5 million down to 1.3 million. Then yesterday, the TSA saw fewer than 100,000 people go through checkpoints, and total just 97,000 people went through TSA checkpoints. That number is down more than 95% compared to nearly 2.1 million people passing through TSA checkpoints on the same date of last year. Well, Verizon is canceling scheduled appointments for internet installations and repairs. The Verge reports this potentially leaves FiOS internet customers without wired internet at a time when they're likely relying on it for work and time to see friends and family. In a support document, Verizon says it's minimizing in-home work to medical emergencies and critical situations to keep employees and customers safe. Verizon says self-install options are available, though, for some orders. Well, Kern County is not seeing as dramatic number of cases of COVID-19 in recent days, but that may not mean things are getting better. Welcome back. Well, possibly a glimmer of hope. We are starting to see fewer new cases, but death rates continue to rise. Dr. Malkathari, Chief Medical Officer for Dignity Health Central California Division, has more on what this means for the near future.
Well, you know, one of the problems with coronavirus is when you do get it and you get really sick, it takes a while for you to get better. So, you know, a lot of people are on meds up to 2 weeks to a month sometimes. So some of these people, if they're elderly, they have additional comorbid conditions, they may not make it. You know, being on a ventilator that long is not always a good thing. So I think as you see the cases coming down, the death rate is still going up because people are either starting to recover a bit or not making it.
We have, you know, here in California, we have been on, we've had these extreme measures put in place for several weeks now, but we're starting to see this virus move west a little bit. In states like Louisiana, for example, starting to get a lot of attention because they're seeing cases and deaths spike. Is this virus moving west, and will it eventually come and hit us very soon, or do you think we're a little more in the clear?
No, absolutely. It absolutely is moving west, and we're about 2 weeks behind New York. And that's how we're doing our predictive modeling. And so we feel our peak in California is going to be third week in April.
Third week in April. So you think that we're still several weeks away from seeing the worst of this here in California?
Right. And the more social distancing that we practice, the longer that peak's going to stay away.
Now, I want to show a graph that we've been showing for the last couple of days, and this is from the University of Washington. It's coming from the IHME, and this is what a lot of people are even seeing Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci talk about. They're referencing this curve and this data, but it shows that California's curve has actually lessened a bit, and now projections show that we have an excess of 1,200 ICU beds, which is far better than what we saw last week when we only had less than 100 excess beds for the whole state. So some positive news here, though. However, I want to show another graphic here that shows that Kern County received an F yesterday when it came to, along with 9 other counties, when it came to practice social distancing. Dr. Cothery, Kern County's grade is an F when it comes to social distancing. Is that concerning to you as we get near the peak of this?
It is extremely concerning, and I think we can definitely do better. I think the residents of Kern County are still traveling a lot, and they're doing a lot of non-essential travel. So I think we have to start, taking this thing seriously, or else we will see a lot of doom and gloom. It is now in our power to turn some of this around. We can't stop it, but we can help save a lot of lives by doing the right thing.
Let's just talk a little bit about what social distancing means. I mean, we talk about this so much, and sometimes we do sound like a broken record. But again, we know that if you look at the graph from Unicast, it showed that at our best, Kern County had a C. We were doing pretty good for the most part in social distancing, but it's gotten worse, almost as if more cases in Kern County have been reported. Do you think that this has almost become white noise to people and people are starting to ignore the importance of this?
And I do believe that is the case. I think we're overstating it sometimes and not seeing the number of deaths that places like New York are seeing. I think we are taking a little less seriously. We're taking it more lightly. And I think we need to really change our attitude on that.
Do you think it's going to catch up to us if we continue to be on this trend, though?
I think, I'm not the smartest guy here, and there's a lot of smarter guys than me, and they've all said, if we social distance, that peak's going to be smaller, and it's going to take longer to get here as well. So it truly is up to us.
There's a lot of measures being taken across the country, across the state, but even here at home. Do you think Kern County is prepared to react if we end up having an outbreak that could be as bad as places like New York? Do you think we're in a pretty good spot to prepare ourselves?
We're preparing every single day. We work every single day, multiple calls, multiple times a day. And with not only our hospital, Dignity Health, but all the other hospitals as well. So we are preparing for a contingency plan if things don't work out well for us. If that peak hits us and it's higher than we think, we're working daily. We're working to work out all the kinks.
There are still 1,900 tests that still need to be processed. We're still waiting the results here in Kern County. But, of course, there's still being more people are getting tested. Let's go over who should be tested. Who needs to go call their doctor and get a test?
So, I think we've talked about this before. So if you have any fevers, if you're getting a dry cough, if you're starting to get short of breath and you're concerned, Dignity Health has teamed up with a company called Amwell, and they have a virtual care clinic. You can get on there for free. You'll have a live provider talk to you. You describe your symptoms. They'll let you know where to go, whether you go to the ER, you go to the urgent care and get tested, you go to one of our clinics. We have a clinic on Stockdale Highway, 9500 Stockdale Highway, that will test you, or you stay at home. So you can do that, or you can call your local doctor and ask them what they think. So, I think that we need to keep it out of the hands of patients. We're trying to help them. But by all means, if you feel sick enough, you feel like, hey, this is bad, I don't like the way I'm feeling, you know your body best, get help right away.
Welcome back now to the latest on the coronavirus here in Kern County. Well, 5 detention deputies at Lerdo Jail have tested positive for COVID-19. That's according to an official with the Kern County Detention Officers Association. Union President Dustin Alkire says the deputies are recovering at home. Sheriff Donnie Youngblood said a total of 10 sheriff's office employees have tested positive for the virus. He's also said 2 inmates at the jail have tested positive. They're in isolation and are recovering and receiving treatment. Sheriff Youngblood says there are still tests pending, so it's likely the number of cases will go up. And Disney theme parks closed because of the coronavirus, and now people might face some changes when they're allowed to once again walk down Main Street. One of these changes is a temperature check at security upon entry. Disney executive Bob Iger spoke about the new normal for the amusement park in an interview with Barron's magazine. He said temperature screenings are a possibility to meet health guidelines and make visitors feel safe. Well, Bernie Sanders ends his presidential campaign. His campaign says the Vermont senator made the announcement in a call with his campaign staff. The move clears Joe Biden's path to the Democratic nomination and a showdown with President Trump in the general election in November. The departure caps a stunning reversal of fortune after a strong performance in the first 3 states that voted in February. The nomination appeared his for the taking until on the last day of February, Biden surged to a blowout victory in South Carolina. The win set off a consolidation of moderate voters around Biden. The Democratic contest ends now as the nation continues to grapple with the coronavirus pandemic. The health crisis halted in-person campaigning for both Sanders and Biden and prompted many states to delay their primary elections. Well, now to a look at national numbers of coronavirus nationwide. There are over 417,000 cases of COVID-19 and over 14,000 deaths. New York remains at the center of the outbreak here with close to 138,000 cases. New York also reports more than 5,400 deaths. In California, the hotspots remain in the Bay Area and Southern California.
This is 17 News with continuing coronavirus coverage.